What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Sunday drive, and if you can tell, I got my Hot Boy racing numbers on. We went to Race Legal yesterday, which is 2 days ago. If you guys are watching it the day it comes out, we went to Race Legal with the manual finally, and so we actually get to see some real world differences between the automatic car and the manual car. That video will be coming out tomorrow for you guys, but today we're going to talk about the sedan and why I bought a sedan over a coupe. Now, one of the reasons is looks, and I'll give you this one. E36s are kind of an acquired taste. When I first got my M3, my first M3, I was hyped to have it because it was an M3, not because it was an E36 M3. And the more I drove the car and learned about it and fell in love with it, then I actually enjoyed it being an E36 M3. Like the first couple months of me owning it, it was cool because it was an M3, you know what I mean? I was hyped about it being an M3, not hyped about it being an E36, and then it kind of flips. Now I'm like totally in love with the E36 chassis, and before I wasn't a super huge fan of the look of them, but it's kind of an acquired taste. The more you look at it, the more you see it differently and the better it looks, and that's definitely the case with these cars. Same with the E30s. When I first got into BMWs, I was not a fan of E30s. Now I freaking love E30s. E30s are amazing. And it was kind of the same deal with the sedan. When I first got into E36s and actually enjoying the E36 chassis, I still wasn't a really big fan of the sedans. I don't know why, I just kind of wasn't until I got my my 325. Now I didn't really care that that car was a sedan because I paid like 250 bucks basically for it, but the more I worked on it, the more I looked at it, I really like how the sedans look. Again, it's kind of an acquired taste, but I do think they look better than the coupes. There are some lines on the car that I think look better and are more prominent on a sedan than they are on a coupe. Mainly that line that runs from the front fender all the way to the back of the taillight. I think it looks a lot better on the sedan than it does on the coupe. In addition to that, I kind of also think, and I've kind of thought this for a while, is that the back window on the coupes kind of look a little weird. It doesn't look bad, I think it just looks weird, like it's a unnecessarily large window, but it does fit the car. And with a sedan, you don't get that. It looks like a sedan, you know what I mean? In addition to it, it's a much more practical day-to-day car, better for daily driving. I found this out by daily driving my convertible. It was a two-door. Having a sedan is nice. Having that ability to have a four-door can be very helpful. When I'm cruising around with a bunch of other friends, I don't have to bend the front seat down. They don't have to climb through. When I need to get something out of the back, I don't have to do like that weird twist and get back here thing if I don't want to. It's got more space in the cab. It's got better legroom in the back for passengers. You get all the benefits of basically having a sedan over a two-door. And all that practicality is not a compromise. You're not compromising anything performance-wise by getting a sedan over a coupe. The wheelbase is exactly the same. The length and the width is exactly the same as a coupe. The curb weight is exactly the same. The drivetrain is exactly the same. The suspension, all that stuff. So same weight, same motor, same transmission. The transmission in this car and the drive shaft are from my convertible. It's exactly the same. And so if you get a coupe, you're not getting a lighter car. You're getting the same exact weight car, and it's got the same drivetrain. So there's no like sedan specific parts for it other than body panels. Like if I want to get a drive shaft, I can get one out of a coupe, or I can get one out of a convertible or another sedan. Like it's completely interchangeable. And because of that, the performance figures are basically exactly the same. The only difference between the coupe and the sedan is structural rigidity. Now your brain's dick thinks that two-door cars are faster, and usually that's the case. Usually the coupes are more rigid, but with the sedan and the E36s, it's not. Sedans have a stronger B-pillar than the coupes do, which means from factory, the sedan chassis are actually more rigid, slightly more rigid than the coupes are, which makes them even more ideal for autocross and track cars. If you want to get a track car, the E36 sedan is the way to go, because from factory it's just a little bit more rigid than the coupes are, which makes them just a little bit better on the track. Along with that, this car also has a fixed back seat. It doesn't have a folding one, so that adds to the rigidity even more. The only thing that would make this car stiffer, or the stiffest E36 you could get, is if it was a slick top, but it's not. The roof is basically just sheet metal, so having a slick top would be like marginally better and would weigh just like a little bit less because of the sunroof assembly. There is only one difference between the coupe and the sedan as far as dimensions goes, and that is height. The sedans are like 1 inch taller than the coupes are. And for me, that's not even a con, because it gives you more helmet clearance. Like when I was at Race Legal the other day, I had my helmet on, and if I sit up like that, my helmet touches. Now I'm sure if I was in a coupe, just sitting normally, it might touch the headliner, and I'm a 6'2", so I'm a fairly tall guy. But in the sedan, I can look all the way around without my helmet touching the headliner, which is pretty nice. On Facebook, on some E36 groups, I'll often see tall guys like me asking how they can get more room for helmet clearance on their coupes, and it's either remove the seat rails or remove the headliner, because where else are you going to get room from? The seat's already bottomed out and your helmet's still hitting the headliner. That kind of is a problem, and I have not to this day seen one post about that in a sedan. And you don't even really notice that 1 inch difference from outside the car. Like, the sedan still looks sleek. It doesn't look disproportionate because of it, you know what I mean? Now you also get more windows, which is nice because you can get a better breeze, but at the same time, E36 window life, you guys know the struggle. You have more windows that can fail, but honestly, these doors are full frame doors. I got a full frame on that, which means this window has a track that runs the entire length of the door, which basically means you don't have those BS little micro switches. Like when you open the door in a coupe or a convertible, the window will sink down a little bit, and when you close it, it'll go back up. You don't have that issue with a sedan because it's a full frame door, so you don't have those micro switches fucking up any of that stuff. So even though there are more windows, they're not like susceptible to as bad window problems as the coupes are, because those micro switches can be a pain in the ass if you gotta fuck with them. There's only one thing that I guess I could kind of count as a disadvantage towards the sedan, but it doesn't really count for me, and I'll explain why in a second. That is the seats. Not so much what seats they are, because this has the sport seats. My convertible also has the sport seats, and I'm not bitching that you can't get Vaders in these. I do like how Vaders look. That's beside the point. Well, my sedan and my convertible both have sport seats. The sedan seats are different. They're actually a little bit wider. Just like a little bit wider than the coupes and the convertibles, which means when I'm taking this thing like out on back roads and I'm hugging corners and actually ripping it, my little muffin butt slides around. And that's kind of an issue, but it's not, I'm not counting it as an issue because it's not fixed by getting a coupe or a convertible. My little butt slides around in the same sport seats in my convertible that are narrower, so having a coupe or a convertible doesn't really fix that issue. The seats are not that much narrower that I'm like getting hugged so much better in the coupe that it would be like a significant difference. My point being, that issue would not be resolved by getting a coupe. I would still have that issue. And that's the reason I'm running harnesses in my convertible. It's not because it's better in a crash or whatever. It's because it holds me in the seat and I don't have to like kind of brace myself against the seat when I'm ripping it in the canyon. And I will get some harnesses for this car. I already have a harness bar for it, and so once that all set up, that's no longer an issue. So that's like the only thing that could be counted as an issue, but aside from that, the sedans are freaking like faultless. Now another thing, the E36 M3 Sedan was only made to fill a gap. Now what I mean by that is the E34 M5 production ended in 1995. The sedan was only made for the 97 and 98 years only, excuse me. So in 96 you could buy a 97, in 97 you could buy a 98 sedan, and in late 1998 they came out with the E39 M5, which kind of makes it special because they were only produced for 2 years, which means there's a much lower production number value. There were about 70,000 E36 M3s made, and less than 10,000 of those were sedans. So less than 15% of all E36 M3s ever made came in sedans because they're only made for 2 years only. Now another thing to note is the convertibles, they only made like 8,000 of them, so there's even less convertibles than there are sedans. But talk to any E36 enthusiast and most of them don't even consider M3 convertibles as true M3s. And because of those low production numbers, you rarely see sedans at all. And that 10,000 of them was worldwide, not even just US cars. Now if you look at any article about cars appreciating and what cars will appreciate next, E36s are just about on every single one of them. People are expecting these things to jump up in value fairly soon because they're really good cars and they're really cheap. But if you start looking under like BMW forums and stuff on which E36s are going to rise in value the most, aside from like the Jalopnik articles and all that stuff, the E36 Sedan is one of them. They're very sought after cars, believe it or not. And a lot of them came in automatic. I think there were only about 4,000 manual sedans made of the 10,000 M3 sedans. Now mine is an automatic car, but I did manual swap it, so I don't really know where that puts it on the spectrum of manual E36 sedans, but I don't really care. I bought this car to drive it, not because it's rare, but I think that just adds to like the cool factor of owning a sedan, is that there are so few of them. Aside from my own M3s, I'll maybe see one or two other E36 M3s on the road per month, including going to car meets and stuff. And a majority of them are coupes. There were about like, I think, mid 50,000 coupes. So for every 6 coupes, there's like one sedan basically. So the sedans are quite a bit more rare. Oh shit, is that a 458? Now, in addition to them being rare on the E36 spectrum of cars produced, they're also rare in terms of BMW M3s in general. The E36 M3 that was only produced for 2 years, the sedan, is the only M3 sedan until the E92 came out. The E92 M3 had a sedan, and the new F80 M3 is also a sedan. So the E36 M3 sedan is like the only retro or classic M3 sedan you can get. You can get an E36 M3 sedan, you can get an E92 or an F80 M3 sedan. That's it. They didn't make E30 M3 sedans, and they did not make E46 M3 sedans, which is kind of sad because I would love to have an E46 M3 sedan, but it would have to be a full conversion. But my point is, if you want an old school M3 sedan, the E36 M3 is the only one you can get, which is kind of sad because they're really fun cars and they're really nice. So why did I get an E36 M3 sedan? Because it's more practical as a daily driver and as a performance car. They're more exclusive, they look better, I think, and on top of all that, you're not sacrificing performance at all by getting a sedan, and that's why I got a sedan. Alright, I will see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it fresh, and I will see you guys later.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust.